Coleman, and welcome to my channel, Diaspora's Kicking the Bobo. What this channel is basically about is discussing issues that have something to do with Africans in the diaspora. That's what my channel concentrates on. We don't concentrate on anything else other than Africans in the diaspora. What we are doing, what we're up to, how well we're doing, what's going on in our lives, what's going on as far as the world view of Africans in the diaspora. Now, for those of you who don't know, Africans in the diaspora are people who does not live on the African continent. Whether you was born on the African continent and then left, or whether you were brought here on slave ships. All of us are considered to be Africans in the diaspora. And unfortunately, a lot of people does not consider themselves to be Africans in the diaspora. But that's another video. We're going to be concentrating on what happened in Texas. Also too, I jotted down some notes here, and I'm going to be looking at my notes to make sure I stay on track just a little bit here. 3 things. Why do this affect us, Africans in the diaspora? What can we do about it? And taking the initiative on our own to help ourselves. Why does this affect us in the diaspora? It affects us because what's going on over there can happen again. You know, we think to ourselves that, oh, that's the Haitians over there and it's only happening to them. Well, it can happen to us. You know, anything can happen. As a matter of fact, if you remember when in Louisiana, when that big hurricane came through, how we were treated. You know, white people had guns. They were in their yards, wouldn't let black folk pass through, you know, kept them out, wouldn't let them in. So it can happen. So we have to keep our eyes on the prize so that we can help ourselves. Now, there are certain incidents that happen over there that we need to take a look at. Whether the Haitians are there legally or illegally is irrelevant. It's about what took place over there. We have agents who are riding on horseback with straps that look like whips on horses, riding the Haitians down. Some people say they wasn't doing it, some people say they were, but that's irrelevant. The problem is that it looked like it happened. Optics is basically everything. Now, what does that scene look like to you? What it looked like is a slave owner whipping his slaves. The United States government represents the slave owner. The agents represents the overseers. It looked like they were beating them. Now, here's the problem with that. If you don't want people there, you don't have to treat them with such disrespect. I'm not saying that I agree with the Haitian cause, because 9 times out of 10, I don't. But nobody deserves to be treated with disrespect, to be shamed in front of the world like they were. I was looking at this news report, and one of the ladies asked one of the Republicans who were, I guess, over that district, what does he think about the situation? Do you know he made excuses for the officers by saying there's thousands of them and then there's 300 of the officers there. So they have to do something to keep the peace. Well, did they do that on January 6th? No. Did nobody break out with whips? Nobody rode anybody down on horseback? No, they got the run of the Capitol. They got the run of the Senate. Totally disrespected the Senate and got away with it. So those are the things we have to look at, because if it happened to them, it can happen to us. Believe it, it can happen to us. One of the other issues is that what can we do to basically prevent this? As Africans in the diaspora, we're probably close to 200 million strong. Situation like this doesn't have to happen with preparation. We all know that we are in the diaspora, and a lot of people don't like us, especially African Americans. They don't like us. They pretend to like us, but they don't like us. This is not everybody. This is not it. I'm not saying everybody is like, but there's enough of them that does it that can do harm to us. So we have to be ready for things like this. You know, we got a group that's called Black Lives Matter. Okay? Now, Black lives does matter. But if Black Lives Matter, where were they? Or is it just African American lives matter? Because they should have been out there. They should have been out there. I'm not saying you got to go out there and protest, but they should have been out there with food, water, asking questions. What's going on? Remember, optics is everything. You know, go out there and say, hey, can we bring them some food? Can we bring them some water? If they say no, hey, put it on camera of them saying, no, you can't feed them, you can't help them, you can't shelter them. But something has to be done. And it has to be an effort by all of us. See, we don't have anything set up like that. So we depend on the others to handle this. The others don't have a responsibility towards our people. We have a responsibility towards our people. But we sit back and we say, look at them poor people there. Those white people, man, they just treat them bad. They just treat them bad. But yet we sitting on our couch watching, and we ain't sitting no money to donate to get them water. We ain't sitting no money to donate to get them food. The only thing we want to sit back and say, oh, them racist white people. And look at them race soldiers. They out there just whipping those black people. Well, we should have been there on the scene, watching, keeping a watchful eye. Now, I'm not saying that the Haitians are there and they should be led in the country, because most of them didn't come from Haiti, from Haitian. They came from Mexico, trying to get into the country. You know, those people didn't swim across the ocean to get to the Texas border. You know, so some of them are there unjustly. And here's the thing, they're shipping some of the people who've been living in Mexico for years back to Haiti. And that's not where they belong. They don't know anything about Haiti, but they're being shipped there to a place where there's no jobs, to a place where it's barely food. The government is barely running. They just had a hurricane over there. That's where they're shipping them to. Only because we came too late. Now, the situation over there has changed, but it took a long time. A lot of people had to suffer. A lot of people had to be shipped back to a place that they know nothing about before something was done. We should have been on the scene there from the beginning. Now, the other thing is we got to learn how to take the initiative, meaning that we shouldn't be asking other people, or the others, as I like to say, to help out. We should take the initiative, do it ourselves, and quit asking the others to help out. Because you know what? The others, they don't want to do it. And when they do it, they have to do it. Because they're not doing it in love. They're doing it because they feel that if they don't do it, then the world is watching. They're not doing it with love. They're not doing it with care. They're not doing it as a sense of responsibility to their people. Now, I'm going to say this. If that was people from, let's say, Europe that was doing that, it would have been taken care of a lot better than what it was. You have to remember, we voted Joe Biden in, and that was his policy. Number one, I only voted for Joe Biden just to get the other man out. Not because so much I liked him, just the other man was just so bad that he had to go. You see, this is what happens. You give them what they want, and then they forget what you did. Now, my concern is not the Hispanic people, that they were done wrong, but there was still no whips or horses chasing them down. Now, they lost children, which I thought was a shame. And somebody still needs to pay for that. separating children from their families. Somebody should be going to jail for that, but nobody's went to jail for it because we swept it under the carpet. Just like we're gonna sweep this under the carpet. Because they're not mainstream society. And we gotta learn for ourselves that we gotta learn to stick together. If we don't learn to stick together, then we're gonna forever always be separate. And that's the truth. We're gonna always be separate. And here's why we can't stick together. Because we might have a disagreement with each other. And since we got a disagreement, you know what we do? We separate. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. Well, let's split up. You know what? Nobody always agrees. But we gotta stick together. I might not like what you're doing. You might not like what I'm doing. But as long as it's not wrong, back me up. Because you might want to do something and I might not agree with it, but I still would back you up. As long as it's not illegal, I will back you up. And that's what we have to do. Because man, we are 200 and something million strong out there. And we can do it. Just think about a world where the African diaspora comes together. Man, that's a scary sight. And that's what this channel is also going to be about. Bringing the African diaspora together. You watch. That doesn't mean everybody is going to come. There's going to be some people that ain't going to agree with it. And that's a different video. It's going to be a lot of people that ain't going to agree with it, you know. There's going to be a lot of religious people that ain't going to agree with it because they're going to say they're not Pan-African. What does Pan-African got to do with religion? You can be Muslim and be a Pan-African. You can be Christian and be a Pan-African. We got to separate that stuff and say, this is my religion and this is what I do. You know? So in closing, I want to say, we got to learn how to stick together and be about it. So if you hit the like button and subscribe, hey, give me a comment. Thank you. Bye.